Good evening and welcome to Prime Edition. Tonight, 27 constituencies could be scrapped in the next 5 months if the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is not fully constituted and deal with the matters surrounding the 27 constituencies. There is another push for creation of another 5 counties to make 52 counties in Kenya. That will be your conversation tonight. Of course, a renewed call by 4 political actors to put their acts together and ensure that the IEBC is fully reconstituted for the issues of elections and boundary delimitation. To help us get into that conversation, we'll be speaking to the Member of Parliament for Mandera South, that is Abdul Haro. We'll also be speaking to Charles Nguna, the Member of Parliament for Mwingi West. He's among the people who've signed for a petition that seeks to divide Kitui into 2, Kitui and Mwingi. And you also have the Member of Parliament for Chesimei, that is Paul Biego. That conversation is happening tonight. But first things first, here are tonight's highlights.
So the country that AFCON has voted for to host the AFCON 2027 is
it is coming home. The East Africa Pamoja bid wins the right to host the 2027 CAF Africa Cup of Nations. Replenishing the food basket. Government to increase funding to the agriculture sector. And cancer treatment milestone. Kenyatta University Teaching Research and Referral Hospital conducts its first ever cyber knife procedure. Welcome to Prime Edition. Our sign language interpreter is Brian Muraru. My name is John Jacob Curia. You're very much welcome to the broadcast. The status of the big news of the day is that the East Africa Pamoja bid that comprised Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania have been awarded the rights to host the 2027 CAF Africa Cup of Nations. CAF President Patrice Motsepe announced East Africa Pamoja bid as the winner of the rights to host the biennial event in 2027 during the CAF executive meeting held today in Cairo, Egypt.
The country that AFCON has voted for to host the AFCON 2027 is
The Africa Cup of Nations will be held in East Africa for the first time in the history of the continental showpiece, after Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania were awarded the bid to host the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. Confederation of African Football announced the news today during CAF executive meeting in Cairo, Egypt. Speaking during the event in Cairo, CAF President Patrice Motsepe celebrated the news, saying that the future of African football has never been brighter.
The support, the infrastructure, the cooperation, and we will be sending teams on an ongoing basis to form an evaluation of the progress that's been made. But because the key is we are absolutely determined to maintain the highest possible standards for African football.
He suggested that an African nation would win the World Cup in the near future. Soccer lovers in the country received the news with jubilation, saying the event would help boost the standards of soccer in the country.
Kwa kweli ni furaha kubwa sana. Tumekaa na hili jambo miaka mingi sana, na leo limetujia, lazima tufurahike. Kitu muhimu ni kuona kuwa tunakuwa na mipangilio mizuri, tuiandae timu yetu mpaka ifikapo miaka hiyo wao kwa sawasawa wajiandae vizuri ili tuwe na msisimko katika hiyo tournament itakayokuja 2027.
Hili ni jambo la furaha kwetu sisi ni jambo la furaha kwa chipukizi wanaoinukia washikadau wa kandanda, na ni fursa kubwa tumepata kama taifa ili kuweza kupiga hatua katika masuala ya mchezo. Na imani tuko na wachezaji ambao ni professionals, pia ni wazuri, but je, tunawahandle vipi sisi kama Wakenya? Kwa sababu wamekuja sasa kubeba nchi yao, ni lazima wao pia nao wajitahidi, wajitolee kwa moyo mmoja kupigania hadhi ya Kenya, wakati sisi tutakuwa tunaandaa hizi ngarambe za Afrika.
I believe it's going to put our sports team in the map worldwide, because people now will be able to recognize Kenya. They'll be able to see that the Kenyan people also have talent.
The win means the 3 East African countries will automatically qualify to take part in the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations as host nations. Kenya has lined up Nyayo, Kasarani, Buhungu and Kipchoge Keino Stadia to host the event, while Uganda has lined up Nelson Mandela, Nakivubo, Akibua and Hoima Stadia. Tanzania will host the matches at Benjamin Mkapa, CCM Kirumba, Jamhuri, Sheikh Amri Abeid and Amani Stadia. Meanwhile, Morocco won the rights to host the 2025 showpiece after Algeria and Nigeria withdrew.
We'll look forward to that. Now, the government will increase funding to the agriculture sector to increase production and deal with food insecurity. President William Ruto says the government will also work with the private sector to create more innovative solutions aimed at making the sector more responsive to climate change. The president spoke during the Agricultural Society of Kenya show at Jamhuri grounds.
The 121st edition of the ASK show has attracted over 300 local and at least 30 international exhibitors showcasing their innovations at the trade fair.
Our bottom-up economic transformation agenda aims to transform 2 million farmers from food deficit to surplus producers.
Speaking during the official opening of the Nairobi Trade Fair dubbed Promoting Climate Smart Agriculture and Trade Initiatives for Sustainable Economic Growth, President William Ruto urged private sector players to increase investment in the agri-value chain to boost the sector and promote trade.
Value addition remains the most viable means of enhancing the competitiveness of our agricultural exports.
He further called for the fast tracking of the establishment of the county aggregation centers to meet the 9-month deadline.
These county aggregation and industrial parks should be finished within the next 9 months and make them ready to serve farmers across the country.
The centers are to ensure agricultural products are stored in cold facilities to improve their lifespan. The CAIPs will also be strategic coordination points for Kenya's exports, saving rural farmers from inconveniences and incurring huge post-harvest losses.
All those who took to the podium earlier said that this could not have come at a better time where agriculture and trade have a convergence as Kenya works at adding or rather focusing on value addition when it comes to agriculture, as well as increasing what it exports out there, not as raw material but now as a finished product. I'm Regina Manyara reporting from the ASK show for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Regina. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority is investigating 237 cases of alleged police excesses during the opposition protests. Appearing before the National Dialogue Committee, the authority's chairperson, Anne Makori, said 359 people have filed complaints on the conduct of the police during the alleged high cost of living protests sponsored by the opposition months ago.
Day 4 of receiving oral submissions from the various institutions and members of the public. The National Dialogue Committee received a report from the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, detailing the alleged conduct of the police during and after the anti-government protests.
In terms of demonstrations, we received 237 during this period between Sabasaba and the time there was ceasefire when this team was established. We received 237 complaints involving 359 complainants.
According to the authorities' chairperson, Anne Makori, 57 Kenyans lost their lives and not 73 as earlier claimed by the opposition.
The data that we have on deaths is 57.
Not 73.
Not 73. They are all under investigation, but Kisumu we had 33, Nakuru 2, Nairobi 20, Kakamega 2. Injuries were a number of them.
IPOA saying it is in receipt of a number of complaints against the Inspector General of Police in terms of management of the National Police Service.
Let the committee not be worried that the IG, the Inspector General of Police, would make that kind of a statement and get away with it. I think it's important for the committee to know that we do have pending complaints against the IG himself.
So far, IPOA has submitted over 500 reports to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution and wants to be allowed prosecutorial powers to adequately discharge its mandate. This as a section of leaders drawn from Wajir South want their own county.
That Wajir South has remained one constituency, despite it meriting to be divided. In almost every occasion, there has been the redrawing of boundaries in Kenya. So we submit and we implore this great committee to kindly look into giving Wajir South that it deserves, a new county and at least 2 constituencies.
Also, the Kanini Kega and Sabina Chege-led Jubilee Wing presented their memorandum mainly seeking to address the infighting that have been witnessed in the party for the last few months of its leadership.
And the outfit, how it was done, was meant that every other party presents its memoranda through a coalition. And so our unique position is that we are an independent political party. We don't have a coalition, and so we want to present as Jubilee Party.
And the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, wants IBC to conduct a boundaries delimitation through consultation to avoid conflicts currently witnessed in 33 counties. For the umpteenth time, it will seem the various institutions as well as members of the public are proposing that the National Dialogue Committee push for a referendum in handling some of the proposals they have tabled before the 10-member committee, despite the 2010 Constitution even being fully realized. Abdiaziz Hashim from the Bomas of Kenya, Prime Edition.
From Bomas, this story will form the basis of our interview later on. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi says the absence of a properly constituted electoral commission is a threat to Kenya's thriving democracy. Mudavadi called on all political actors to put their act together and allow for the reconstitution of the IEBC alongside the requisite electoral reform laws.
During the Electoral Law and Governance Institute for Africa consultative workshop on post-election electoral law reform agenda, the Prime Cabinet Secretary warned that Kenya's democratic credentials are being dented by absence of a fully constituted electoral commission.
Though recommendations were made, only late changes through the Political Parties Amendment Act, which were more political than transformative, were affected to the electoral law. The last comprehensive review of electoral law was in 2016 by the Joint Committee led by Governor James Orengo and the former Governor Kiraitu Murungi while serving in the Senate.
The IEBC has for the last 9 months been without a single commissioner after the exit of Chairperson Wafula Chebukati, Commissioners Boya Molu and Professor Abdi Gulie, whose term expired in January, while the Cherera 4 resigned after the 2022 elections. Mudavadi has also called on Parliament to enact any electoral law reform a year before the next general elections to avoid confusion that rocks the Commission when it is confronted by new legislation months to the election.
As a nation, it's about time we deal decisively with the cyclic violence that afflicts our country during and after elections. Elections may be a make or break moment, but they should never be a do or die moment.
Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka says the country must rethink the population quota that informs constituency boundary delimitation that now risks sinking 40 constituencies in 5 months.
If you are to touch each of those 40 constituencies and say because you have not met the threshold X, or indeed touch those which are saved, and you say we have 5 months within which to make sure something is done by the IBC, I can tell you, let's all decide as Kenyans. You give somebody a right, you can't withdraw it. Such a sacrosanct right to representation.
Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
Obviously, the question is to take away or not, and those constituencies that are affected. But of course, that conversation cannot happen without a fully reconstituted Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. We're having that conversation tonight with the Member of Parliament for Mandera South, Abdul Haro. We also have Charles Nguna, the Member of Parliament for Mwingi West, and Paul Biego, Member of Parliament for Chesumei. Plus, the conversation on whether counties should be increased from 47 to 52. But that is obviously later. But for now, we are taking a short breather. When we come back, we have more news lined up for you, including business and sports.
Officially, Nudhi iko ndani ya one of the boxes ya Lucky Game. Cheza Lucky Game. Kumbuka ni *570#. Chagua Lucky Game. Kisha chagua one of the boxes kati ya hizo 7. Weka stakes zako, usiwe chini ya 20 shillings na isizidi 2,000 Kenyan shillings. Zawadi ziko kem. Kiwapo pia Nudhi tumeingiza mahali pale. Vur. Mita na *570#.
Blow the whistle. As a responsible citizen, you can get involved in the war against corruption and report any incidences of bribery and corruption. And whenever you report, EACC assures you of utmost confidentiality. You can always report using any of the following ways. Use anonymous reporting system available at EACC website www.eacc.go.ke. Write a letter to the Secretary or CEO, EACC, PO Box 61130, postal code 00200 Nairobi. Make a call to 0729 888 881 or 882 or 883 or hotline number 020 271 7468 or fax 020-271-9757. You can likewise send an email to report@integrity.go.ke or reach us through our social media handles, facebook.com/EACC or twitter.com/EACC. You can also visit us at the EACC stand at the Nairobi ASK Showgrounds in Jamhuri or any of the EACC regional offices and Huduma centers across the country. EACC, tuangamize ufisadi, tuijenge Kenya.
County Government of Turkana welcomes you to the Ehale Center in Lodwar Town for the 7th edition of the Turkana Cultural and Tourism Festival. From 12th to the 14th of October 2023. Come, experience the origin of mankind with its unmatched beauty from the beaches of Lake Turkana to the oil wells of Lokichar. Live on Channel 1, Radio Taifa and KBC Turkana Service.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Edition. The saying that necessity is the mother of invention has seen the country record history by successfully operating and treating a tumor using ultra cyber knife technology. Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital in Ruiru, Kiambu County conducted its first ever non-invasive procedure on Wednesday.
At the Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital, the board chairperson, Professor Olive Mogenda, accompanied by specialists and government officials, watches in awe the precision of the first-of-a-kind ultra cyber knife procedure. The cyber knife is the first non-invasive cancer treatment technology in Kenya and the region, and the second in the continent after Egypt acquired one last year. 28-year-old software engineer Benjamin Modhama is the patient. Benjamin was diagnosed with a tumor between his eye and nose. 30 minutes later, it is relief, joy, and applause.
Excellent.
As Mudhama joins his father, Jonathan Mutanga.
We even thought of even going to India due to the long wait, but we are happy that we have the machine here in the country.
And the patient, the tumor it's actually a benign tumor. It's not cancerous at all, but it was very close to the cochlea. This is the hearing apparatus. And the brainstem, this is the one that helps you do everything that you are able to do as a human being. This kind of treatment we're able, because it's very accurate, up to 1 millimeter of accuracy, we're able to evade these critical structures, and you can see the patient is actually standing.
It also supports universal health care, given that it is fully covered by NHIF, and patients with NHIF don't have to add any money to access the treatment.
The cyber knife will be able to treat 10 patients in a day, and already 100 are on the waiting list.
We intend to treat up to 300 patients maybe in the first year of this machine being up and running. Of course, as personnel, as a radiation oncologist, we are planning to keep on training, to keep on going for the trainings, and a lot of help is coming in from India, from the Accurate team.
It does treatment with more than 6,000 angles. So it hits the tumor from different angles, which no other system can do that.
The groundbreaking technology will go a long way in reducing the cost of seeking treatment outside the country. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
Let's now shift our focus on Senate Mashinani. It is in Turkana County. And Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir says enhancing electricity generation and interconnection with the grids of neighboring countries will help minimize cases of power outage. Speaking during the Senate plenary sittings in Lodwar in Turkana County, Chirchir says the national government committed to enhance electricity connections in Turkana County to power development to power develop the region.
Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Churchill told senators that the government has committed to providing adequate and affordable power connectivity to all Kenyans.
I also want to clarify to the CS to clarify why they changed the contractor, yet the contractor was performing well, and then you create more harm getting generators which cannot meet the demand of the power.
The Cabinet Secretary states the measures put in place to ensure that Kajiado County benefit from energy resources, while indicating the status of explorations of gas, solar, wind, and geothermal energy in the county.
And currently, whereas the market in Lodwar is 2.8 megawatts, we are currently only supplying 2.4 because one of the 650 megawatts diesel generator went down, and we are working around the clock to make sure we replace.
During plenary sitting, Churchill noted that even though Turkana County contributes to the national grid, connections in the area are still low.
Is the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum implementing any specific plans
or measures to ensure that the Samburu North constituency, which currently lacks access to the national power grid, can benefit from it. This particularly is significant considering that the transmission line of the Electoral wind power project is hosted in Samburu County.
We have landowners who have not given us easement to date to be able to, and therefore we really need to work with the communities, ensure that they benefit, particularly in those corridors, so that we can work together and expedite the development of this country.
Meanwhile, Mining and Blue Economy Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya told senators that recommendations on lifting of moratorium on mining licenses issued in 2019 is currently before Cabinet pending approval. The moratorium has affected crude oil activities, among others, in Turkana County.
The ministry has put measures in place to start granting artisanal miners with permits upon lifting of the current moratorium on issuance of mining rights. These measures include a gazettement of the Kakamega County Artisanal Mining Committee as per Section 94 of the Mining Act 2016.
Mvurya has committed full involvement of government officials in extractive activities to ensure the sector is fully under the control of the state. Among the proposals before Cabinet is instituting comprehensive audits on mineral rights, weeding out illegal licenses, as well as formalization of small-scale mining through cooperatives. For Prime Edition from Lodwar, Turkana County, my name is Gladys Mungai.
Senators from across the political divide are opposed to the National Executive's proposal to establish an advisory committee at the national level to manage primary healthcare. Debating the primary healthcare bill at the Turkana County Assembly, senators said the proposed primary healthcare advisory committee will create bottlenecks that will hamper service delivery by community health promoters. The lawmakers instead want more funds channeled to the counties to promote the implementation of primary healthcare.
The primary healthcare bill currently before the Senate seeks to establish primary healthcare networks at each county and sub-county level to ensure equitable distribution of resources and health services. In a bid to fast-track realization of universal health coverage, the National Executive is proposing creation of community health units of not more than 1,000 households each and community health committees to oversee the operations of the health units.
For someone like me who comes from a rural setup, this is going to be a huge initiative, because look at the number of young people we are bringing into employment by hiring them as community health promoters.
Clause 14, Subclause 4 of the bill sets out the functions of proposed primary health care advisory committee, including advising the ministry and county governments on delivery of primary health care services and conduct periodic reviews on implementation of primary health care.
Mr. Speaker, I really want someone to convince me that I need a county advisory health board, and then at the same time I need a national one.
Mr. Speaker, we are in a country that we know that healthcare has been an issue of marginalization to communities since independence. And here, you have got a leeway where you're giving a national executive to further marginalized counties.
Senators opposing the creation of the National Advisory Committee argued it was unnecessary since implementation of the primary health care was done at the county level.
It cannot be, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we are standing here today talking about a health function that is devolved, and at the same time saying that we are going to create a national body that will be governing or guiding the policy. Mr. Speaker, sir, we will be missing the point.
Please, let us not pass any law in this House that close back the gains of devolution. We cannot say that primary health care, which is a devolved function, is going now to be managed by people sitting in Nairobi calling themselves a council.
The draft law also establishes a county primary health care advisory committee mandated to ensure effective implementation of healthcare services through resource mobilization. If passed by the Senate, it will be referred to the National Assembly for concurrence before being forwarded to the President for assent. Vishoke Washira, Prime Edition.
Their counterparts are in Nairobi, and therefore the members of the National Assembly have taken issue with the Presidential Working Party on education reforms, accusing it of forming an implementation committee that has commenced work without Parliament's approval as per the law. Speaker Moses Etangula directed the Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah to follow up on the issue with the Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Mashogu and bring a comprehensive report to the House on Wednesday next week. Among the recommendations of the Presidential Working Party on education reforms is for the government to provide conditional grants for vocational training colleges, ring-fence the amount for the institutions, and for the Ministry of Education to provide a minimum essential package to facilitate operations of new public tertiary institutions.
Honorable Speaker, the recommendations that the Minister of Education review the grades for pre-service teachers jeopardize the mandate of the Teacher Service Commission as provided under Article 237(3) of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform has also recommended that the Minister of Education establishes a comprehensive school system where all levels of learning are managed as one institution, contrary to Part 2(9) of the fourth schedule of the Constitution.
The work of a member of parliament, one of the cardinal roles of a member of parliament is legislation. We don't expect any other person who has not been elected by anyone, Mr. Speaker, to make law. That is in contravention of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Article 95 is very clear, Mr. Speaker, that there is no person who can make any law or who can pronounce himself on anything that has a force of law except this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I see the Honorable Milemba.
It is important that we now look at Article 95 critically. It is true nothing should assume the force of law except as passed by this House. But additionally, this House is also required under that article to deliberate and resolve issues of interest to Kenyans. This has become an issue of interest to Kenyans.
Youth in the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD member states, will now have a bigger say in discussions around conflict and climate change following the adoption of the Declaration on the IGAD Youth Policy Framework. The declaration seeks to, among other things, design youth-centered development programs, alleviating the adverse disruptions and impacts caused by conflict, climate change, and displacement on the youth in the region.
The adopted framework is a result of the high-level technical experts meeting on the development of the IGAD Youth Policy Framework held from the 25th to 26th September 2023 in Nairobi. The framework will give the youth a bigger voice in the resolution of conflicts in the region and in the ongoing debate around climate change. It was adopted Wednesday after a two-day ministerial conference where partner states pledged the full implementation of the framework.
The Youth Charter and the IGAD Youth Policy are not just words on paper. They are tools for transformative change. The roadmap and the action plan we are creating during this conference will guide us in translating policy into action.
We are also embracing a vision where every young person has access to quality education, healthcare, and employment opportunities.
The recommendations of the policy framework seek to, among other things, rally member states to take immediate action in establishing national youth councils and the necessary supporting structures in places where they do not exist. Emphasize the importance of meaningful involvement of youth-led organizations in the development and implementation of the IGAD Youth Policy Framework, and activating the youth unit established within the Social Development Division to facilitate internal coordination of youth affairs and to engage externally with member states and relevant partners.
It underscores the importance of gender equality, social inclusion, and protection of the youth rights. Their energy, creativity, and resilience are assets as one is to build a brighter future for our region.
It is our blueprint that is going to guide our development within the IGAD region, and we are not going to let our member states to take it for granted.
Owing to previously unmet pledges, the youth have committed to hold member states accountable for the implementation of the policy framework. With the curtains falling on the Intergovernmental Authority on Development's high-level ministerial meeting on the adoption of the Youth Policy Framework, it is now time to shift from paperwork to action, with the youth being in the forefront of it all. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition in Nairobi.
The county government of Nairobi has mapped out 463 areas likely to be adversely affected by floods when the El Nino rains begin. The county approximates that at least 200,000 families will be affected by floods, majority of them in informal settlements and those living around wetlands.
With only a week left to the onset of the anticipated El Nino rains, county governments are racing against time to put in place contingency measures to cushion residents. Nairobi County has mapped out 463 areas likely to be hit by flash floods and want residents to be on the lookout.
We are also prepared to ensure that we stockpile adequate supplies. We identify areas that need evacuation. We identify alternative accommodation, be they social halls, churches or schools, where such people that may be affected will be accommodated.
To avert possible loss of life due to the floods, the acting county secretary, Patrick Analo, says the county government intends to relocate 200,000 families to safer places.
You have looked at the resources that the various players have and need to bring on board in terms of personnel, equipment and machinery. We have also discussed how we need to really go into detail in terms of identifying the risk-prone areas and how to cover them when the risk comes.
What you're doing as a committee is to come up with a structured plan to sensitize even the inhabitants of these areas that relocation is in their own interest.
The process of marking unsafe buildings is ongoing, and those found unfit will be demolished. In Kiambu, the county government has set aside 50 million shillings for any eventuality during the anticipation of the El Nino rains. Governor Kimani Wamatangi says his administration is not taking any chances and will do everything possible to cushion residents.
Tumemobilize equipment, tumeweka excavators ziko on ground tayari wanalima huko na kufungua mitaro. Tumeweka hizi backhoe wanalima, tuko na watu hao wamewekwa kwenye ground kufungua mitaro zote, kupanua zingine, kutafuta mahali kulikuwa culverts ndogo tunaweka zingine kubwa, kuhakikisha kwamba mahali mitaro haijatokea kuelekea mtoni tumepeleka mpaka mtoni, ndio maji ikianguka inaenda.
Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Prime Edition.
Tuache kudanganyana. Hapa mali safi, mali mbichi, kijani kibichi. Tuko Lucky Game, tunashibishana. Dial *570 hash. Chagua sanduku ya Lucky Game. Utapata sanduku 7 zinakungoja mahali pale. Chagua yako. Mali kibao, tuko na viti, tuko na vifriji hapa, tuko na TV, tuko na microwave, na pia tuko na chapa. All happening kwa *570 hash. Jishibishe.
The Senate will hold its sittings dubbed Senate Mashinani, Turkana County, from 25th to 29th September 2023. This is in line with Article 126 of the Constitution that allows a sitting of either House of Parliament to be held at any place within Kenya and at any time that the House appoints. The sittings will highlight the critical role the Senate plays in the interlinkage between the national and county levels of government and enhance the interaction between the Senate and county government as a means of bringing the Senate closer to the counties and the general public. The sittings will promote the role and work of the Senate and enhance public awareness regarding the business of the Senate and Parliament in general. Senate Mashinani will also highlight existing and new opportunities in the legislative process besides developing capacity and strengthening partnership at the county level of government. The Senate invites members of the public to meet and interact with their senators and follow deliberations of the Senate during the sittings. The scenic cradle of mankind reincarnated to play cradle to devolution. Senate Mashinani welcomes you home.
Do you know that what you eat can affect your menstrual health?
This type of ceremony is important for women who are struggling with missing periods and also irregular periods. Menstruation is supposed to be a natural process in your body. If you're not going through menstruation, that is not normal unless you are going through perimenopause or menopause. I've passed out many times just from losing a lot of blood because of having a heavy flow.
To learn more, join us this week on Thursday at 2 p.m.
Officially, Nudhi iko ndani ya one of the boxes ya Lucky Game. Cheza Lucky Game. Kumbuka ni *570#. Chagua Lucky Game. Kisha chagua one of the boxes kati ya hizo 7. Weka stakes zako isiwe chini ya 20 shillings na isizidi 2,000 Kenyan shillings. Zawadi ziko kem. Kiwapo pia Nudhi tumeingiza mahali pale. Vurumisa na *570#.
Before we do business, the Directorate of Immigration Services is sensitizing the public about the Maisha number identification card ahead of its official launch next Monday. On Tuesday, officials from the Directorate, led by Immigration Principal Secretary Julius Bitok, were at Komarokin, Nairobi County for a public participation forum. Maisha number is a lifetime identification that will be used as a registration number for schools, the National Health Insurance Fund, Kenya Revenue Authority and other government services. Bitok said the current national identity card will continue to be recognized as a valid identification alongside the new card.
Baka hata hii waiting unapewa waiting. Kama kijana yangu alichukua miezi 3 iliyopita, baka saa hii ako na waiting, hajapata kitambulisho.
Mimi nasema tuiunge mkono because sitakuwa nikibeba document 5. Ni document moja peke yake yenye ina sort kila kitu.
Na hiyo yote utamaliza uhalifu, ukora itaisha, sababu mambo yote itakuwa kwa system. Hata hii mambo ya vetting inatusumbua. Hii serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ambayo inaongezwa na Mheshimiwa Rais William Ruto imesema kwamba mambo ya vetting inatolewa, na tukileta hii card hata mambo ya vetting, mambo ya kuexclude watu wengine, mambo ya kuonea watu wengine itaisha, sababu mambo itaonekana kwa system. Ukisema wewe ni Mkenya na wewe sio Mkenya, hata hapo unaonekana.
All right, just a reminder that our conversation tonight focuses on boundary delimitation. And of course, you've had that conversation about whether the term of a president should be extended or not. We'll be engaging the Member of Parliament for Mandera South, Abdul Haro, the Member of Parliament for Chesumei, Paul Biego, and Charles Nguna, the Member of Parliament for Mwingi West. It will be a big conversation we'll be having after the sports. But for now, business is up next with Betty Jepkonga Kiptum.
Tuache kudanganyana hapa, mali safi, mali mbichi, kijani kibichi. Tuko Lucky Game, tunashibishana. Dial *570# chagua sanduku ya Lucky Game, utapata sanduku 7 zinakungoja mahali pale. Chagua yako, mali kibao. Tuko na viti, tuko na vifriji hapa, tuko na TV, tuko na microwave, na pia tuko na chapa. All happening kwa *570#. Jishibishe.
Na unajua kwa hiyo kujifanya ukuwe nyeupe ni upumbavu. Unajua?
Wewe
wanachipotoa. Alafu wana change color wanakuwa maroon commandos.
Tushaona mpaka uso vile imechomeka, unataka avue nguo alafu afanye.
Kama zebra cross. Tumia hizo product. Nilijaribu lakini niliungwa. Niliungwa nikakuwa makamu mheshimiwa. Umesema
hydroquinone?
Mlikuwa na hewa.
It's a component in your products.
A very good evening to you. Thank you for choosing Prime Edition here on KBC Channel 1. Time to get the latest in the world of business. My name is Betty Kiptum. Now, the official opening of the Nairobi International Trade Fair was marked by a colorful awarding session presided over by President William Ruto. Winners spanned 10 categories, from large commercial farms to special categories for women, youth and disabled farmers. Among the awardees was Elgon Kenya, Dr. Bimal Kantaria, who was recognized for using innovative solutions to deal with challenges facing the agricultural sector in the region.
The Agricultural Society of Kenya Award Ceremony is an annual official function presided over by the President, who doubles up as the patron of the affair. For more than 100 years, the event has grown in leaps and bounds, attracting locals, regional and international exhibitors. The agriculture event has evolved beyond agriculture to encompass other sectors of the economy, life, ICT, among others. As a routine, President William Ruto presided over the awarding ceremony, recognizing key players in various sectors.
Elgon Kenya has been supporting the Presidential Farmers Award for the last 8 years. Elgon Kenya sponsors it, and Minister of Agriculture are the judges of the competition. And today we gave out the trophies for the best woman in agriculture, the best youth in agriculture, the best physically challenged in agriculture, and the best 4K club in agriculture.
Elgon Kenya, an agri-input supplier in East Africa, was among those honored.
So between Elgon and Ministry of Agriculture, we've started the 4K club already in schools. We have 1,200 schools that we're now encouraging agriculture in primary schools.
Group Managing Director Dr. Bimal Kantaria emphasized the importance of product diversification with a strong focus on environmentally sustainable products.
Elgon Kenya is pushing heavily on drip irrigation. We're doing very clever irrigation, which is also solar-based. It's got GPS coordination on it. We do the latest kinds of chemicals in the market. So very advanced chemical molecules we're now sponsoring. Our fertilizers is blended fertilizer.
St. Luke's School for the Deaf 4K Club was also feted after emerging as the overall winner among over 100 entries from across the country.
The assessment was on the themes and the actual performance of the learners on the ground of the farm practices.
Being deaf is not a big problem, but being deaf, they can farm well. Being deaf, there's no problem. They are just like other children. The only problem they have is about communication, but they are able to communicate using sign language.
The school wants the Ministry of Education to ensure special education is accessible to all students in the country.
It has been a day when the entire nation has gathered to celebrate the unsung heroes who contribute to the agricultural sector and those that feed the entire nation. This even has calls for Kenyans to tap into the opportunities presented in the agricultural sector reverberate throughout the day. Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition, Nairobi.
And the government has initiated talks to lower the cost of electricity for tea factories in efforts to reduce the overall cost of tea processing. Speaking during a meeting with KTDA factory directors, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua underscored the need to lower energy expenses in order to enhance the competitiveness of the tea value chain.
Tea factories are increasingly opting to invest in small-scale electricity generation plants as a means to cut off reliance on costly power from the national grid. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says plans are underway to ensure that factories producing their own power deliver low-cost energy that will in turn secure long-term stable cash flows for farmers.
Some factories are generating their own power, but there is a problem because when they put it on the grid, they are paid at a lower fee, yet they are sold at a very higher fee. So next week, I'm going to convene a meeting between yourselves and the Minister for Energy and Petroleum, Davis Chirchil, so that we agree on how we can support the tea industry to bring down the cost of power.
At the same time, older tea factories were urged to embrace newer technologies such as solar collectors that are known to reduce the overall energy intensity of tea processing in the factories.
Your cost of production, the biggest component is energy. Both electricity, diesel, and firewood. Biomass is very expensive for us. Therefore, the only solution will be to change and move with other people like EABL, other practitioners in the industry who are now using solar.
Gachagua also recommended regular energy audits and replacement of standard machine parts like withering fans and motors with high-efficiency ones to bring down energy consumption.
I want us to have an audit of all the subsidiaries. The ones that are profitable and are making sense and are in support of the farmers, ziendelee. The ones that are loss-making, we find a way of liquidating them.
The move comes in the wake of tea sector reforms that have seen farmers across the country receive higher bonuses. Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
And licenses for 20 scrap metal dealers have been suspended since the lifting of moratorium imposed on scrap metal trading in May last year. This is according to the Scrap Metal Council Chairman Francis Mugo, who is warning players that a stern action will be taken if they are found culpable of vandalism of critical infrastructure.
The government lifted the moratorium placed on trading of scrap metal in May last year, allowing those dealers who registered through an association to operate. So far, over 1,000 dealers have been licensed. The move meant to bring back sanity to the industry. However, according to Kenya Power, cases of vandalism have been on the increase, with 321 transformers vandalized since the lifting of the moratorium.
We have had cases in Nakuru, we have had cases in Nyamira, part of Kisii, we have had cases in Athi River, we have had cases in Mombasa.
Associations, we've managed to tame our members, taking them to workshops, sensitizing them, the need to have a vandalized-free environment. And so far, according to our statistics, since the moratorium and since this association was registered, vandalism has gone down by over 70%.
The Scrap Metal Council is in a multi-agency team that has so far taken 20 cases to court.
As a council, we have been taking actions, suspending the licenses of all the players who are caught or whose cases are in court up until the time the cases are concluded.
We've managed to get like several of our members culpable, to the allegations, and we've managed. The first thing is to take a step of deregistering from the association.
Mugo says policing is hampered by inadequate manpower.
If we want to have offices across the country to monitor the situation of vandalism, to monitor and do vetting, we don't have our own staff, so it's a challenge. So that is one of the areas we are looking at to amending. We are also looking at amending the Act to introduce various categories of the dealer, and amending even the name of scrap metal from scrap metal business into metal recycling.
The scrap metal industry controls about 500 billion shillings, employs over 2 million Kenyans, and sustains 20 steel millers. Wari Mujenga for Prime Edition.
Now, the government has initiated various policies to make the tourism sector in Kenya sustainable. Some of these policies include the banning of plastic bags in national parks and reserves, increasing forest cover by 30% by 2030, and deploying electric vehicles in the country's game parks. Speaking during the World Tourism Day in Embu County, Tourism Cabinet Secretary Nino Malonza says Kenya has also embraced the eco-lodge concept in a bid to green the industry.
Kenya is at the forefront of driving ecotourism in Africa, with the country aiming to achieve a sustainable climate-friendly industry by the year 2030. Already, Kenya is a founding member of the Sustainable Tourism Global Center, where it seeks to provide leadership globally and in Africa to ensure the sector adopts sustainable tourism. Speaking during the World Tourism Day in Embu County, Tourism Cabinet Secretary Nino Malonza says Kenya faces severe climate-related threats due to changing climatic conditions and weather patterns caused by the carbon emissions.
We're working to see whether we can have an insurance scheme that will compensate our people once any harm happens to them.
Some of the measures include banning plastic bags in parks, embracing electric vehicles in the parks, and encouraging investors in the sector to deploy eco-friendly technologies.
We issue a call to action to the international community, to governments, financial institutions, development partners, and the private partner sector to unite around a new tourism investment strategy. We look forward to more traffic to Embu, and I wish to state that we do have adequate hotel capacity to accommodate travelers to Embu.
In Mombasa, tourism stakeholders have cited the high cost of living as an impediment to the growth of the tourism sector. According to the stakeholders, the signing of the international market rates early this year has made it difficult for them to revise the rates to cushion them during these harsh economic times.
We are not able to increase our prices the way the fuel cost is being increased, simply because we've signed contracts that you must respect for the whole year. So it means that you'll have to bear that cost. So unfortunately, it is what it is. So it means that we have to look for ways and means to cut down our cost. This is unfortunate, as much as it's a global phenomenon where cost is really getting out of hand.
To boost cruise tourism, Mombasa County Governor Abdul Swamad Nasir has appealed to the government to waive visa requirements for international tourists docking at the port city for excursions.
I'm informed that one of the largest cruise ships is going to be in Mombasa by February of this coming year. When you have 4,000 people who have spending money, and they're going to be in Mombasa over a short period of time, that is going to be a boost to the county of Mombasa and the country in general.
From Mombasa County, I am Ann Mburu.
Story there brings us close to business news this particular evening, but of course sports news is coming up with Daniel Wahome. My name is Betty Kiptum. Do have yourself a good night. Bye-bye.
This week on What's in Your Kitchen, Chef Dennis makes for us mutton rogan josh. Santi, I've got all my ingredients for the mutton rogan josh, courtesy of our guest cook, Dennis. Aya. Crushed methi seeds. Kila siku soma kitu mpya. Mchele wetu iko sawa. Iko sawa. Tumalize.
Sasa ni kwenda tukule. Lakini hauendi.
Mimi siendi.
Hauendi.
Hiyo tutaongea kwa meza kwanza.
Sawa sawa.
William Ruto has welcomed CAF to award Kenya the right to host the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. CAF President Patrice Motsepe announced the East
But I am very proud today that Kenya, together with our partners in Uganda and Tanzania, jointly we have won the right to host AFCON in 2027, and we are very proud of this achievement. We will now mobilize every resource. We will mobilize every person and every sector to make sure that we deliver a world-class football event in 2027.
KBC Channel 1 magazine programs strive to disseminate news and information.
Welcome to happening in the world of entertainment
and achievements of individuals navigating through life.
Be part of the intelligent conversation up at KBC Channel 1.
Related to the interest of Kenyan public on various subjects of national importance.
Basi karibu tujifunze.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news,
challenges and remarkable stories of individuals with disabilities.
So you have a say.
Our magazine programs empower communities with words for conversations and a common language to approach the world.
For your infotainment needs, we have a great range of programs.
Divide and conquer.
Do you think Alice can work against the father?
If you play your cards wrong, you'll be forced to carry whatever burden J&J will be turned into.
George?
Flowers and cards can be replaced.
So I came here to report harassment.
How much did he offer you?
So I feel insulted. He's going to hurt her emotionally.
But she'll be richer than the rest of her age mates.
Alice, nitatoa drama huko tupu.
Drama za nini sasa?
Have your lawyer call my lawyer before the day ends.
He will. No one beat the Kaikaras in a court process. Unataka niambie baba yako unajaribu kumsabotage?
You can't eat your cake and have it too. Excuse me.
So we apologize for that technical hitch, but it's that President William Ruto has welcomed CAF's decision to award Kenya, the Uganda and Tanzania the rights to host the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. And remember, CAF President Patrice Motsepe announced the East Africa Pamoja bid as the winner of the rights to host the biennial event. And this was after the CAF Executive Committee held a meeting today in Cairo, Egypt. The president received the good news while officially opening this year's Nairobi International Trade Fair, and he said that the three countries would mobilize resources to host an excellent event. He said many people were skeptical about Kenya having the chance to host the event in 2027 due to the state of sport in the country. Now is that the national under-23 basketball team started their campaign at this year's 3x3 Basketball World Cup in Poland on a sour note after they were beaten 22-5 by the Netherlands. Dutch forward Kiki Floren scooped 7 points to help her team top Group A. The Kenyan men's team will start their campaign tomorrow against Israel. The event brings together 20 men's and 20 women's teams from across the world. And Ronnie Lusigi became the first president of the new Kenya Esports Federation for a 4-year term after winning the federation's first election held in Nairobi today. Anna Diambo was elected the vice president for the federation.
Lusigi garnered 23 votes against his opponent Mwaniki Mwanzia with 4 votes. And Odhiambo was elected the vice president with 22 votes against Celine Leroshion, who got 5 votes. Helen Kairu was elected the treasurer after beating Lida Bisieri, while Brian Ochanda will be the athlete representative. Omar Sadiq Mohammed was elected the Secretary General unopposed, same as the first Vice President John Otiambo and life member Shinaka.
Tukiwa na timu yetu tumepatiwa hii nafasi ya kuongoza mchezo huu. Sio kazi ambayo ni rahisi, ni mchezo, lakini mchezo wa kidijitali, na unajua kidijitali kila kitu unajaribu. Tuko kwa ile muda ambao usiogope kujaribu. So nasema tu asante na nashukuru sana delegates kwa kutuamini.
The new office bearers promised to take the game to new heights and be inclusive for both men and women. The election was the first for the federation, which has been under an interim management committee, and the exercise was supervised by sports registrar Rose Wasike.
Moving forward, we want to make our social media presence well known. We want to teach people more about esports and the variety of games that's available, and even give them an opportunity to go compete not only in Kenya but outside the country.
Laban Murima, Prime Edition.
Well, and that's the sport for tonight, and we will be talking more sport tomorrow and keeping up with our 3x3 basketball team, and also as we will build up to the World Road Running Championships. Now, time for me to leave, but I'll leave in the good hands of John Jacob Kuria, who's got 3 members of the National Assembly. We've got the Honorable Abdul Haro, the Honorable Paul Biego, and the Honorable Charles Nguna. And it is something that has come up. It is about boundary delimitation, the discord. How do we change boundaries? Because some of the stories, especially from Wajir South constituency, they're simply saying we want to be a county by itself, and also have more constituencies within. Let's just hear from the members of the National Assembly, the honorable members who are here with us tonight, on how this should work even as the IBC is constituted. Have a good evening. John Jacob Kuria is taking over.
Na unajua kwa hiyo kujifanya ukuwe nyeupe ni upumbavu. Unajua?
Wewe
wanachipotoa. Alafu wana change color wanakuwa maroon commandos.
Tushaona mpaka uso vile imechomeka, unataka avue nguo alafu afanye.
Ameweka kama zebra cross. Tumia hizo product. Nilijaribu lakini niliungua. Niliungua nikakuwa makaa mheshimiwa. Umesema
hydroquinone?
Mlikuwa na hewa wapi?
It's a component in your product.
Divide and conquer.
Do you think Alice can work against the father?
If you play your cards wrong, you'll be forced to carry whatever burden J&J will be turned into.
George?
Flowers and cards can be replaced.
Sir, I came here to report harassment.
How much did he offer you?
Sir, I feel insulted. He's going to hurt her emotionally.
But she'll be richer than the rest of her age mates.
Alice, nitatoa drama huko tupu.
Drama za nini sasa?
Have your lawyer call my lawyer before the day ends.
He will. No one beat the Kaikaras in a court process. Unataka niambie baba yako unajaribu kumsabotage?
You can't eat your cake and have it too. Excuse me.
KBC Channel 1 magazine programs strive to disseminate news and information.
Welcome to happening in the world of entertainment
and achievements of individuals navigating through life.
Be part of the intelligent conversation. Upper KBC Channel 1.
Related to the interest of Kenyan public on various subjects of national importance.
Wasigaribu tujifunze.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news,
challenges and remarkable stories of individuals with disabilities.
So you have a say.
Our magazine programs empower communities with words for conversations and a common language to approach the world.
For your infotainment needs, we have a great range of programs.
Music can be magical. It's the soul for life and gives immense peace to us. It has a powerful therapeutic effect on the human psyche. Whether secular or gospel, there's a song for everyone, every occasion, and every emotion.
God bless you.
Na unajua kwa hiyo kujifanya ukuwe nyeupe ni upumbavu. Unajua?
Wewe
wanachipotoa. Alafu wana change color wanakuwa maroon commandos.
Tushaona mpaka uso vile imechomeka, unataka avue nguo alafu afanye.
Ameweka kama zebra cross. Tumia hizo product. Nilijaribu lakini niliungua. Niliungua nikakuwa makaa mheshimiwa. Umesema
hydroquinone?
Mlikuwa na hewa wapi?
It's a component in your product.
County Government of Turkana welcomes you to the Ehale Center in Lodwar Town for the 7th edition of the Turkana Cultural and Tourism Festival. From 12th to the 14th of October 2023. Come, experience the origin of mankind with its unmatched beauty from the beaches of Lake Turkana to the oil wells of Lokichar. Live on Channel 1, Radio Taifa and KBC Turkana Service.
Well, it's time for us now to get into a conversation. There's so much happening across the country. Abdul Haro is the Member of Parliament for Mandera South. He's on the extreme left. I have Paul Biego, who is sitting next to me, the Member of Parliament for Chisumei. Both of them support the Kenya Kwanza administration. And then I have one member of Mwingi West, that is Charles Nguna. of course, from the opposition. And there's so much to speak about. But first off, probably even before we touch on the boundary delimitation, which is our conversation tonight, and starting with you, Mheshimiwa Paul Biego, this conversation around extending the presidential term limit to 7 years, does it emanate from the deep quarters of UDA?
Well, that one doesn't, because that is a member's opinion and his views to it. And I think he has the constitutional right to actually propose, but that is not the position of the party so far. And I think it is his own idea that he wants to try and sell his proposal.
What is your own opinion? Then if that is his opinion, what is your opinion?
Well, to me, ideally, if I was to be asked that if he boards or if he puts on board members of parliament, women reps, or governors, MCAs, and gives a proposal, why not? I think other countries are that way. And it would depend. People can debate about it and would want to hear what informs of that particular